praying for him. That praying pays, you know what I gotta say. Every sentence ain't a death sentence. Life up in my sentence is a sentence. Can't throw the book at me. Yeah, I'm praying for the team. Tell them that I'm steadily praying for the redeemed. I'm praying that we all get clean. Praying that we step up on that scene. Praying every chance I get, this my chance to dance, to show them this holy romance.
Blessings, family. Welcome to the journey. I'm Joshua, the Promised Land Consultant. You know that I'm dedicated to serving you from sun up to sun down. The case study that we are looking at today that you can use as you're moving towards your hopes, dreams, your aspirations, what I call your promised land, where you are operating at your highest and optimal vibration, is you ain't locked in with God, you're gonna get locked out. And what I simply mean by this is as you are traveling, making progress, coming into the place that you want to be at, there's going to be several times, but there's one in particular moment where you are at the threshold of everything that you want. And what you find is that fear will be in your ear. You've heard many people call it false evidence appearing real. I'm here to tell you that that is not true. That is a bucket of lies. False evidence appearing real is a statement that I do not agree with, because fear helps us realize the situation that we are in and to get locked in, tapped in with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in that moment. Because the evidence being presented to you, whether it is high walls, whether it's a giant, whether it may be the wind, the rain, snakes, these particular things can kill you, and that's why you are fearful of it. But fear can help you if you use it as a retrieval cue to tap in and get locked in with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You can either be fearful in that moment, or you can get locked in with God. And that's what I want you to see about false evidence appearing real. No. You can die in that moment, just like when Daniel's time of fear came and he was thrown in the lion's den. If he had let fear take him over, the lions probably would have ate him. But Daniel had a relationship with the God that overcomes fear, death, hell, and the grave. So there was no issue. And that's the key. When you are used to walking in the spirit, when it's time to suit up and boot up, you will walk in the spirit. And that's why I call this get locked in with God or get locked out. And that's what I want you to see today as you're walking towards your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, is you have to learn how to walk in the spirit. It's going to be situations that tower over you. There's going to be situations that overwhelm you. And if you don't perform adequately, if you haven't built a relationship with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and his risen Messiah sufficiently enough, you will not be prosperous in that situation. That is the whole point of the wilderness, is to bring you to a point, to bring you to an area, to bring you to a battle that's more than anything you could ever imagine, and you can't do it on your own. You have to have the fortitude inside. You have to have been walking in the spirit, basically, to win this battle. And what the children of Israel found out is that when they came to their threshold, they sent those 12 spies who came back with a good report, and the other 10 were like, we can't do this. 2 of those people, Joshua and Caleb, had been walking in the spirit. They had been getting to know God. They had been relying and learning from the failures that they had when they were in the wilderness. But when you're stubborn, when you're muttering, when you aren't moving the way that you're supposed to be, what you will find is that you're not learning. You're stuck in the physical. You're stuck in the flesh. And when you're stuck in the flesh and God brings you to your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, that final battle, that Goliath for you to conquer, you don't know how to get in the spirit. You don't know how to rely on God because you've been complaining when God has been teaching you. And a character from antiquity that we can look at who did a great job of staying in the spirit no matter what he was fighting, no matter what came against him, was Job. For those of you who don't know who Job is or what Job did, Job was a very rich individual. He lived in the land of Uz. Job was a man from the east, I believe. He had a lot of children, I don't know if he had a lot of wives. I think he might have had one wife. I think Job had one wife. Anyway, but he had a lot of land, he had a lot of cattle, he was well respected in the region that he lived in. But there was one particular day when Job lost everything that he had: the land, the wine, the children, the cattle, the gold. Everything that he had was taken away by the Sabaeans, the Chaldeans, by a whirlwind, by earthquakes, by disasters, all designed to test Job. Now, I'm not going all the way into the story, but I want to take a quick look at what Job went through, which is the things that I just named. And not only did Job go through losing all of his wealth and prestige, but he also was physically attacked. He had boils all over his body, right? And as Job was going through this, he said something in Job 23:10, which really speaks to me and should speak to you as myself and yourself are traveling to that place that we want to be, because if you don't know, Job regained everything he lost through the faith that he showed when he was going through his time of testing. And here's just one of the beautiful things that Job said in Job 23:10. But he knoweth the way that I take. When he has tried me, I shall come forth as gold. That's the first thing that I want you to hear. When he has tried me, I shall come forth as gold. Right? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob knows how he moves. He knows how we move. He knows what we do. He knows intrinsically what is in our heart, and he is going to try us. That's what the wilderness is about, right? And if you come forth, you will be as pure as gold, because when you walk in the Spirit, that's how precious you are. When you learn to walk in the Spirit with God, you are like gold, and that is beautiful. The next part of that verse 11 that I wanted to get to: my foot has held his steps, and his ways I have kept and not declined. Neither have I gone back from the commandments of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food, but he is one mind, and who can turn him? Now, verse 11, to me, that is the key to walking in the Spirit. When you come to that place, the threshold where you can behold everything that you've been working towards, that you've been wanting to. It's the reason why you've been in the wilderness. It's the reason why you got out of Egypt. You're now at the threshold, right? And if you've been doing what Job just delineated, showed us in this verse, you will be fine. You'll be able to get in the Spirit at any moment if you happen to walk out of it. So here's what I mean. My foot have held his steps, his way I have kept, right? You've been coming to God. You've been praying to God. You've been holding that time. There's special times when you can pray to God. The watchman hours late at night, 12, 3 o'clock, right? It's those late night hours when the veil is thin, when you should be praying to God, keeping those watch time hours. But also, and I have not declined, neither have I gone back from the commandments of his lips. Notice the next part, right? My footsteps have held his steps, and I have kept his way. You've been walking with God. You've been praying with him. You've been talking to him. But not only that, God's been speaking to you, right? And neither have I gone back from the commandments of his lips. When God talks to you, he's going to tell you what to do. You may think God's your friend. That's cool. He may be your friend. But he's going to give you things to do because he's a king. And even higher than a king, he's a God. And gods tell you what they need you to do. If he's your God, he's going to give you commandments and covenants to walk in. And Job knew this before the books were even out there. He knew this intuitively because he knew how to walk in the Spirit. That's what this game is all about. You want to be in the Spirit? Learn the commandments and covenants. Next, I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. To me, this is Job telling me what? He's been walking in the Spirit. This is Job telling me that he's been walking in the spirit, closely with God, building a relationship. Job is built for the day of adversity. And I didn't say it before, I'm going to say it now. You know, I go back and forth with the story. The story of Job is a portion where it says the sons of God were coming to commune with God in the courts of heaven, right? And the lowest one was there also. And the lowest one asked God to let him test Job, right? Job was made for the day of testing. God wasn't worried about Job being tested. During that time, when the sons of God were up there in the courts and the courts was going on, God was like, "Have you even considered Job, my servant Job?" This is because this tells me that Job had been through the wilderness before. Job was someone who had been tested by God before he was given all that wealth, before he was given the things that God gave him in the physical, because he knew how to walk in the spirit with God. And I can see it in this verse right here, right? I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. Have you been fasting? Have you been praying with God? Have you been walking with God, right? Making time for him. That's that relationship time. Then the commandments of his lips, right? Do you know what God says? Are you keeping it, right? Next is the I have esteemed the words of his lips more than my necessary food. You've pushed the plate away because you know that there's something greater along the way with being with God. Job knew something, and he stood on that foundation which he knew. And that's how you get in the spirit. You learn to walk with God. You keep his commandments. You learn to fast. And now you're ready to lead and be first in your class when the test is coming to you. That's all I want you to see today. When they say false evidence appearing real, nah. That evidence is real. And if you haven't been walking in the spirit, if you haven't learned how to talk with God, how to walk in his spirit, how to believe who he is, and what he needs you to do, that day of testing won't turn out the way you want it to. And when you fail against the minions of darkness, it's a place that you don't want to be in. The higher you go with God, if you fall from heaven, if you fall from that mountain that you're climbing with God back to earth, yeah, it's not a good thing. But that's what I see in the story. That's what I wanted you to see as the Promised Land Consultant. You know that I'm Joshua, the Promised Land Consultant, dedicated to serving you, family, from sun up to sun down. Dedicated, family, to seeing you planted, growing, and manifesting in your promised land. And as you're moving and making tracks, family, I absolutely pray that you will walk in the spirit and that you wouldn't let fear get in your ear, because fear comes from a real place. Fear moves in the realm of the spirit, and you need to be in the spirit so you can walk as bold as a lion to deter the weaker vibrations of the spirit that want to pull you down, family. In the name of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, amen. I know you're going to make it.